الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين على أمور الدنيا والدين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا ولا تجعل ما علمتنا وبالا علينا. اللهم اجعل أعمالنا كلها خالصة لوجهك الكريم وفي ميزان حسناتنا يوم نلقاك يوم لا تملك نفس لنفس شيئا والأمر يومئذ لله. Inshallah, as usual, before we start the other lesson, we'll do a few questions of previous lesson. Then inshallah, we'll start our lesson. Last time we did 3 surahs. It was Surah Al-Ikhlas, Surah Al-Falaq, and Surah Al-Nas. We mentioned few names of Surah Al-Ikhlas. Who remember that? Surah Al-Ikhlas, some names.
قل هو الله واحد.
قل هو الله واحد.
الإخلاص.
Al-Ikhlas.
الصمد.
You have some?
Oh, I thought
Or
what
they said it.
surahs?
Huh?
I thought what surahs?
Okay, yeah, you thought?
What surahs?
Yeah, so I'm asking the names of the surah. Surah Al-Ikhlas, so, mashallah.
الصمد.
As-Samad.
التوحيد. الأساس.
Al-Tawheed, Al-Asas, mashallah. The foundation. What about the virtue of the surah? This surah is 1/3 of the Quran. We mentioned that few salah that the Prophet ﷺ used to recite them. Surah Al-Ikhlas and Surah Al-Kafirun. Which salahs?
سنة الفجر.
Sunnah Al-Fajr.
سنة المغرب.
Maghrib. And Witr, mashallah. So about how many times the Muslim should read this surah? 18. And if 3 times is a khatma, so you're doing about 6 khatmas in a day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from us. So there's a lot of questions to be asked, but inshallah I will just start a new surah today. Our surah today will be Surah Al-Masad. Surah Al-Masad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. تبت يدا أبي لهب وتب ما أغنى عنه ماله وما كسب سيصلى نارا ذات لهب وامرأته حمالة الحطب في جيدها حبل من مسد. This surah has many names. One of the famous name is Al-Masad. Al-Masad, which is the palm fiber. The palm fiber, when they make robes, so out of the palm fiber, they used to make a robe. So there is a word Al-Masad in the surah, which is the palm fiber. There are many names, other names. Some of the ulama, they mentioned this surah is called Surah Tabbat. Or sometimes we call it Tabbat. Or Surah Lahab. Or Surah Abu Lahab. Those 4 names as the famous names. Surah Al-Masad, Surah Tabbat, and Surah Al-Lahab, and Surah Abu Lahab. This surah is only 5 ayat, and it talks about a particular family of Abu Lahab, who used to be the uncle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After we mentioned the names, what is the alaqa, the connection that this surah has with the other surahs, the surah before it, or some surah that are after this surah? The ulama always mention the connection between the surahs. And subhanallah, sometimes you may even see the connection of the beginning of the surah and the ending of the surah. They said this surah and the surah before it, Surah Al-Nasr, they all connected to Surah Al-Kawthar. إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ. We will read that, the tafsir of that surah, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we gave you a lot of goodness, lot of khair, abundance of khair. That is the first ayah. And the last ayah Allah said, Inna shani'aka, the one who blame you, the one who talk about you in a bad way, he will be cut off every khair, every goodness. So the ulama said, Surah Al-Nasr, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ, it is connected to the first ayah of Surah Al-Kawthar. What are the khair and the goodness that the Prophet ﷺ was given? It is the victory that is mentioned in Surah Al-Nasr. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. Then Allah said, إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ. The one who curses you, who said about you bad, he will be cut off every khair. And that is mentioned in Surah Al-Masad, Abu Lahab, who said about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made him cut off every khair. So that is the connection. And the connection of Surah Al-Masad to the surah before it, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. Allah mentioned in the Surah Al-Nasr that the victory of Allah and the conqueror of Makkah will come. And among the victory of the Muslims is the kafir who's been defeated, like Abu Lahab. So the ulama also connected those two parts. What is the reason of the revelation of this surah? As I mentioned, some surahs they have connected to an incident that happened. They call it sabab al-nuzul. In Arabic, sabab al-nuzul. The sabab of revelation. And the hadith is, some of the hadiths, they also have reason or some incident that connected to the hadith. That one the ulama call it sabab al-wurud. The sabab al-wurud is when you're saying about the hadith, which means the reason of narration of that hadith. But when it comes to the Quran, they call it sabab al-nuzul. There is a small book that As-Suyuti rahimahullah rahmatan wasi'a, his author, is called Asbab al-Nuzul. He talks about the surahs and the incidents of those surahs. The first 3 years of da'wah, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was doing da'wah secretly. Not to everyone. He started from his own family. Khadija, Ali radiallahu anhu was with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Zayd ibn Haritha, and only to his close friends like Abu Bakr. And Abu Bakr called his close friends like Talha, Uthman, he called them. So they used to gather in a Sahabi who was very young at that time, who was 18 years old, Arqam ibn Abi Arqam. It was close to the mountain of Safa. So the Prophet ﷺ used to collect the Sahaba and give them teaching in that house secretly. After the third year, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to the Prophet ﷺ, وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ. O Muhammad, warn your close family, your close relatives. Say the da'wah openly. فَاسْدَعْ بِمَا تُؤْمَرْ. Then the Prophet ﷺ started giving da'wah openly. So this surah, it is connected with the first incident of giving public da'wah. The first incident of giving da'wah publicly. When that surah was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ came to the Kaaba. It was at Fajr time, or after Fajr. He climbed to the mountain of Safa. When he reached to the topmost part of the mountain, the Prophet ﷺ started calling out loud, saying, Wa sabaha, wa sabaha. And this is a word that the Arab used to use it, especially the Makkah people, to call for something which is big. Something happened. Someone calls saying, Wa sabaha, everyone should listen and come closer. So the Prophet ﷺ was saying, Wa sabaha. And imagine in this early morning, and the Mecca itself is a valley between the mountains. Now they remove a lot of those mountains, but it was in a valley, and that echo sound entered to every house. and they recognized the voice of the Prophet ﷺ. So everyone was coming. Even the one who cannot come was sending someone, saying, please go there and listen and come back and tell me what is the topic and why Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam is calling people, saying, wa sabaha. So the Prophet ﷺ, after a lot of people gathered, even some of the ulama, they said, between the mountain of Safa and the Kaaba was full of crowd. Everyone was there, listening. The Prophet ﷺ started calling Quraysh. Said, Ya Quraysh, Ya Bani Abdi Manaf, Ya Bani Abdul Muttalib. He was calling all the tribes. And everyone was quiet and listening to the Prophet ﷺ. Then the Prophet ﷺ started by questioning them. And he said, Lo anna khaylan. If I inform you that there are hordes and enemies who's attacking Mecca behind these mountains, amusaddiqin, you gonna trust me? You gonna trust if I say there are some people coming to attack Mecca this morning? They said, no. They say out loud, yes, O Muhammad. Why? لأنك ما جربنا عليك كذبا. We never seen you lying. Because they used to call him الصادق الأمين. The Prophet ﷺ was trustworthy. He never lied to anyone in Mecca. He'd been among them for 43 years in this moment. So they know him very well. They said, Ya Muhammad, we never seen you lie. That's why some of the ulama, they said, it's good for every Muslim to be honest and trustworthy. Especially for the person who calling people to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if you lie to the people may use against you. How they can trust you with the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why you lie in dunya matters. So it's very hard. So they said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Ma jarrabna alayka kadiban." We never see you lying, O Muhammad. Then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told them, "Inni nadirun lakum bayna yadi adabin shadid." I'm warning you before severe punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before Sunnah. I'm here to teach you about La ilaha illallah. So say La ilaha illallah tuflihu. You will be successful in this life. Even he said, if you accept this kalima, you will conquer Arabs and non-Arabs. So the Prophet ﷺ started encouraging them and teaching them the Tawheed. And subhanAllah, everyone was quiet, listening. No one dared to answer, except Abu Lahab, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. Before everyone say anything, he dusted his hand and he said, "Tabban laka sa'ir al-yawm, alihada jama'tana." He said, O Muhammad, may you perish, may you be destroyed. Are you calling this early morning only for these nonsense things? So he started blaming the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ didn't say anything. And no one else said anything. Everyone left. Imagine, a lot of people could be Muslim if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. So Abu Lahab, who was one of the worst enemy of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why this surah mentioned his name, Abu Lahab. And Allah even mentioned how he will be burned in the hellfire. So Abu Lahab, he starts saying, "Tabban laka sa'ir al-yawm, alihada jama'tana." The Prophet ﷺ was very sad. And the Prophet ﷺ, Allah gave him akhlaq, good manners. He used to deal with everyone with good manner. What about with his uncle? In the Arabs also, whenever the father passed away, they have a tradition that the uncle will be in the position of your father. So the Prophet ﷺ was very quiet. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered Abu Lahab from the Sab'a Samawat. And Allah sent Jibreel right away to the Prophet ﷺ, revealing to him this surah. Why? Because إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُدَافِعُ عَنِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala defend the believers. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this surah to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. تَبَّتْ يَدَا أَبِي لَهَبٍ وَتَبَّ. Allah said, perish to the two hands of Abu Lahab, the uncle of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and perish he. مَا أَغْنَى عَنْهُ مَالُهُ وَمَا كَسَبَ. His wealth and his children will not benefit him. سَيَصْلَى. He will be burned. نَارًا ذَاتَ لَهَبٍ. In a fire of blazing flames. وَامْرَأَتُهُ. And his wife too. حَمَّالَةَ الْحَطَبِ. The carrier of wood. فِي جِيدِهَا. In her neck. حَبْلٌ مِّن مَسَدٍ. Is a twisted rope of masad, which means palm fiber. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this surah to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this time is the first time the Quraysh hear about the Quran. They don't know about the Quran yet. Only few people knows about the Quran and the Deen. So this surah has a rhythm of poet. They thought this is a shi'r. And they used to like the shi'r. They used to memorize it. They used to discuss it in their majalis. Whenever they come, they used to discuss about the poets, and they used to like those kind of things. So this surah start being spreading between Makkahs. So, and the reason why they thought this is a poem, because every ayah except the last ayah ends with the ba. تبت يدا أبي لهب. تبت يدا أبي لهب وتب. ما أغنى عنه ماله وما كسب. سيصلى نارا ذات لهب وامرأته حم. So they start talking about this. And the wife of Abu Lahab, she was from noble family. Her name was Jamil. His wife, her name was Jamil. That is her nickname. But her real name is Arwa bint Harb. Arwa bint Harb. Subhanallah, recently one of the brothers, he named his daughter with Arwa. So somebody told him this is the name of wife of Abu Lahab. And already the daughter is grown. So I didn't like to harm him. So he came questioning me. So I told him her name was Jamil, the nickname. But Arwa, in Islamically, the names that the Kuffar of Quraysh used to have is the same name that the Sahaba used to have. You should look at the meaning. Not only because this person was this. You could find from the Kuffar of Quraysh, Amr, and all these names. So her name was Arwa bint Harb. She was the sister of Sufyan ibn Harb, the leader of Quraysh, who later on became a Muslim after fighting against the Prophet ﷺ and leading the army of Quraysh for 21 years. Abu Sufyan. So she was from that family. She didn't like what the Quraysh is talking about. So she used to also make some poem, shi'r. She used to know some shi'r. She got very, very upset. She took a very sharp rock and she was looking for the Prophet ﷺ to smash his head and harm him very hard. So she came rushing, and the Prophet ﷺ was sitting with Abu Bakr in beside the Kaaba. So Abu Bakr, when he seen her, he said, Ya Rasulullah, this lady, she is an evil lady, she may harm you. What about if you leave before she comes? So the Prophet ﷺ said to Abu Bakr, don't worry, she won't see me. So the Prophet ﷺ was just sitting beside Abu Bakr until she came and she started questioning Abu Bakr, where is Muhammad? And subhanallah, the Prophet ﷺ was just sitting beside Abu Bakr. She can't hear him, she can't see him. He recited the Quran. And Allah said in the Quran, وَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ جَعَلْنَا بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ حِجَابًا مَسْتُورًا. Whenever you recite the Quran, Allah will cover you. He will make a hijab from the non-believers. As he did in the incident of Hijrah. They were in front of his house and the Prophet ﷺ left it. وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ سَدًّا وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ سَدًّا فَأَغْشَيْنَاهُمْ فَهُمْ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ. So she started questioning Abu Bakr, where is Muhammad? And why لماذا هجانا? Why he's talking about us in a poem, in a shi'r. Abu Bakr told her he never said any poem against you, O Jamil. Because this was not a poem, this was Quran. So she said, Abu Bakr, I believe you. Because Abu Bakr also was a very noble person. But she said something about the Prophet ﷺ. She also prepared some 3 lines of poem, and she said, مذمما أبينا وأمره عصينا ودينه قلينا. She said, مذمما, the humiliated one. She was taking the opposite name of the Prophet ﷺ. Because the Prophet ﷺ name was Muhammad. Muhammad is the praised one. You can't say the praised one is bad. So they have to twist his name. And subhanAllah, the Prophet ﷺ said, this is how amazing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is diverting the insult of Quraysh from me. They're insulting someone whose name is Mudhammam. I'm not Mudhammam, I'm Muhammad. So she said, Mudhammaman abayna. We refuse to follow Mudhammam. Wa amrahu asayna. Also we reject his matter. Wa dinahu qalayna. And we hate his religion. She said this and she left Abu Bakr, and the Prophet ﷺ was sitting there. So this was the incident or the reason of the revelation of this surah. This is what happened before and after this surah was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, Tabbat yada Abi Lahab. Perish to the 2 hands of Abu Lahab. Allah described the 2 hands that he lifted, and he pointed to the Prophet ﷺ. Allah said, may those 2 hands perish. And watab. Watab is perish he. His entire body may perish and destroyed and ruined. Not only his 2 hands, but from head to toe may perish and destroy and ruin. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in this surah about Abu Lahab. Abu Lahab, his name was Abdul Uzza. Abdul Uzza ibn Abdul Muttalib. Abdul Uzza, that was his name. Uzza is an idol that they used to worship. You know, we say Abdullah, Abdul Rahman, but they call him in Jahiliyyah at that time. He is a slave or the servant of Uzza. The idol's name is Uzza. That's why when some of the ulama said, Allah did not mention his name, Abdul Uzza, in the Quran. Why? Because this is itself is a kufr, naming someone that he's a servant of such idol. He's one of the 9 uncles of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, had 10 sons. So one was Abdullah, the father of the Prophet ﷺ, who passed away at a very young age. And the Prophet ﷺ had 9 uncles. One of them is Abu Lahab. The ulama said 6 of them, they passed away before the wahy and the revelation came to the Prophet ﷺ. So they passed away before the prophethood of the Prophet ﷺ, 6 of them. Only 4 reached the wahy, the prophethood of the Prophet ﷺ. Who remember those 4? Can tell me some of the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ?
Abu Lahab.
Abu Lahab, yeah. And Hamza? Abbas. Abbas is Ibn Abbas is his son. Jazakallah khair. Yeah? Abu Talib. 4 of them. They reached the prophethood of the Prophet ﷺ. 2 of them become Muslim, and 2 of them refused the da'wah of the Prophet ﷺ. The 2 who accept the da'wah of the Prophet ﷺ are Hamza and Abbas. Especially Abbas, he accepted very late, the 8 years of Hijrah.
Abu Talib didn't? Abu Talib didn't?
No, Abu Talib didn't. Abu Talib and Abu Lahab, they didn't accept the da'wah. Abu Talib, but he helped and supported this deen more than me and you, more than anyone else. He was protecting the Prophet ﷺ almost for 50 years. He passed away when the Prophet ﷺ was about 50 years old. So, and subhanAllah, those who refuse to accept Islam, Abu Talib and Abu Lahab, Abu Talib will be in the highest part of the hellfire, the minimum adab. He will get the minimum punishment. And Abu Lahab is one of the people that will get the severe punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the bottom of the hellfire. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't call him by Abdul Uzza. And the ulama said why he was called Abu Lahab. Abu Lahab is the father of flame. They said he was very handsome. Subhanallah. It was, when you imagine about Abu Lahab, that picture will never come to your mind. Somebody who's very handsome. But he was somebody who's very, handsome person. And he was one of the 4 richest man in Quraysh. He was one of the 4 richest men in Quraysh. He has a lot of wealth. He also is a husband of Arwa, which is from noble family of bint Harb. But Allah didn't call him with his name, and not by his children. He has also about 6, I think, boys, and 2 of them accept Islam, and 4 of them refused. So his older son used to call Utbah or Utayba. So Allah did not call him Abu Utayba because that is an honor. When you call a person by his son, you're honoring him. But Allah called him Abu Lahab because that name it is look like with the punishment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will punish him in. He is Abu Lahab and sayasla naran dhat lahab. He will be burned by his name, which is the flame. Even, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished him, they said he died in a very bad way. His death.
Was it a disease?
Yes, out of disease, infection. I will mention that. Calling a person by his name is honoring him. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, you see, every prophet is called by his name. Musa wa Isa wa Ibrahim wa Ismail wa Ishaq wa Yaqub is an honor. Even you don't find that our Prophet ﷺ is being called Abu Qasim. The most honor, the highest status is to call him by his real name. But Abu Lahab, let me talk about his death, how he died. He died, they said, a few days after the Battle of Badr. He did not even get an honor of dying in the battlefield. Because the Arab, they used to honor the person who died in a battlefield fighting against his tribe. Because of his tribe. So he said there was a man whose name was As ibn Wa'il, who took some loan from Abu Lahab. So Abu Lahab told him, if you cannot pay me, you can go to Battle of Badr on my behalf. Then I will relieve you from all the debt. So he sent him on his behalf. He did not die in that battle. If he died there, the Arab should honor him. They will honor him. If he becomes safe and come back also, is another honor. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not decree for him and did not want for him to die in that honorable way. Even though it's not an honor to die as a kafir, but in their term it was an honor. So they said, after the battle of Badr, a slave boy came to him, telling him about the defeat of Quraysh. What happened to Quraysh? That they died and 70 of them were captured, and he got very upset. So he hit him hard. And the owner of that slave was a lady who was standing there. She looked at how her slave was humiliated. She got very upset. She started punching Abu Lahab. And she took a knife and she opened like his skin. She harmed him. She injured him. And subhanAllah, he died out of the infection that comes from that injury that the lady injured him. He got infected. That infection, the Arab, they used to call him adasa. That kind of infection, if the person is affected with that infection, nobody will come close to him. They will run from him. So he got very sick. After a few days, he died. And nobody has the courage to come and bury him. Because if you touch him, you may be also affected with that disease. So everyone was abandoning him. They said he was there for 3 days and nobody was coming, even his sons. After 3 days, his sons, they got embarrassed and they was thinking about how to bury him and to save their life. So they took long sticks. They was rolling him from far until they brought him to the well. So they threw him to that well and they destroyed the well on him. What a bad ending. Because he said about the Prophet ﷺ, he used to harm the Prophet ﷺ a lot. Not only in this incident, in everywhere. The Prophet ﷺ used to go to the aswaq, to the marketplace, calling people to La ilaha illallah, saying, Qulu la ilaha illallah tuflihu. Qulu la ilaha illallah tuflihu. He used to come and hit the Prophet ﷺ. Once even he harmed the leg of the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ was bleeding, alayhi salatu wassalam. And he was saying, he's my son, I know him more than you, he's liar, he's a sha'ir, he's majnoon, don't listen to him. How the people could listen to you while your own uncle is saying bad about you and everywhere, disrespecting you, dishonoring you. So he used to harm the Prophet ﷺ, and the ulama said, this is an end of every arrogant person, whose arrogancy is against the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Especially those who say bad about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Their ending will be very bad. Whether they make a picture and slander him in any ways, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will punish them in such a way. One of the arrogant people was Fir'aun. Fir'aun, he was saying to Musa, he was belittling him. Am ana khayrun min hadha alladhi huwa mahin. Am I good, or this person who's humiliated person who cannot even speak properly was saying about Musa. He was saying, وَهَذِهِ الْأَنْهَارُ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِ. These rivers are following under my palace. So how this person can talk to me? The ulama said Allah punished him with his arrogance. He was talking about the rivers that follow under him, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take that water and put him down and drown him with water.